Well, hello. Thank you so much for coming today. We have a great guest to talk about podcasting from a very large range. Everything you need to know about podcasting. So, welcome to Fela. And Fela, can you tell everybody a little bit about your background and what you're working on now?
Yeah. So I come from an audio engineering background. So I've been an audio engineer for about 22 years. And in the past 5 years, I opened up a studio, and it's primarily our primary clients are podcasters. So I came from touring around the world, mixing for bands and stuff like that, to now working with businesses and government entities to tell their story, their brand story, and make it sound and look good. So that's kind of my background, and I'll get more into that into the presentation as well.
That's great. And I think you worked for someone pretty famous on the music side, didn't you?
Oh, wow. Yeah, well, I've toured around the world with Christian McBride. He's an 8-time Grammy Award winner, jazz artist who played with everybody. So therefore, I got to mix for, just crazy artists that I never thought I would get to mix. Yeah. So yeah, that was living the dream there for a while. And I still do. I love helping tell people stories and show them how to do it at a high level. So,
That's great. That's great. All right.
all
Well, I'll
right.
let you take over the screen if you'd
Okay.
like.
Give me a second. Okay. We'll get right into it.
I think I got you into share, but let me check.
Yep, I'm in it. I'm in it.
Okay.
I was just choosing the right screen. And yeah. Okay. Oh, okay. I'm gonna go full screen. Okay.
There we
So
go.
we are podcast proficiency, a guide to boosting your business's presence through audio storytelling. As I got into it a little bit earlier, my background is audio engineering, and since we started the business, these are a few of the people that and clients that we've worked with. We worked on Ice T's Daily Game. He recently did a recording for Rick and Morty. So we recorded him for a recent episode of Rick and Morty. We worked with the Human Rights Campaign doing their podcast that is soon to come out. We've worked with Paramount, Food Network, just a lot of different things between doing voiceover work and podcasting. A bit more about me again. Yeah, that I toured with Christian McBride for almost a decade. I write for Mix Magazine. Um, I'll usually review gear for studios and for podcast equipment. I'm a co-owner of One of One Production Studio in Fort Lee, New Jersey, and we recently opened up a second studio, 23DB Productions, down in Charlotte, North Carolina. So doing the same thing, helping businesses, government entities, stuff like that, to tell their story. We also endorse, all the equipment that we use for our clientele. We also sell, we're retailers as well. We work with them. We've done videos and stuff for even those clients as well, for those manufacturers. So uh all right, let's get right into it. So let me see if I can. Yeah, so you have two ways that you can tell stories with your business, whether that's internal or external podcasts. Internal means only your sales team or only if, I'm dealing with government stuff, only the internal employees of that, particular business or government entity is seeing the, or is hearing or seeing the podcast. Um, and then external podcasts are for the public. What that means, whether it's for, your clientele, you can put it into your newsletters, stuff like that. And just give it a different look and feel, and really feel you. I mean, hearing your voice and people understanding what your service or product is about, that really makes a difference. So those are like the first questions that each one of these slides are gonna be like, how do you want to use the podcast? Is it internal or external? Well, you could do both. Um, what to talk about? Whether you're highlighting your business again with the external, to get more clientele in, or just, talking about what's going on within the company. Are you gonna bring in experts with a niche? It gives you perspective. um what are the trends that are happening in your particular niche, whether that's sales, um finding the key words in your niche to also put into your summaries. Like, that helps out your SEO, because all of this is going online, and anything that you could put into your information text wise that gets more notice from Google is always a great thing. So, you're listening to the podcast, but also those summaries help out your overall, just notice to the public. So you really want to make sure that you're using, those keywords that are known in your business, in your summaries, and also in your podcast as well. What structure do you use? Are you going to do interview style, which is more for the external podcast, than the internal, but internal as well for sales for a new product, and you want to hear what the engineers' thoughts are, on the particular product? That may be a way to go as well. Solo podcasts, which again is more of an internal thing, usually we'll have like the president or the head of a certain department, doing an internal podcast, talking about what's going on in the company and what they want to get out there. It's more like an audio newsletter, we've done for clientele as well. um you could do narrative podcasts too. Narrative is a bit more, it's a bit more on the heavier editing side, and they cost a bit more. Like, you really need production, and which narrative means like even a mix of solo to interview, there being a narrator that brings it all together so that the show makes sense. With those types of things, you usually want to do a bi-weekly or monthly situation with a narrative podcast, because I mean it's just so deep as far as how much information you're getting usually with the narrative, that can be consumed over and over again. um Podcast season structure, for the business. That's what I was alluding to by the end of that last slide. Is For businesses, you can get away with like a bi-weekly or even a monthly podcast. I would say stay within the bi-weekly, like twice a month, getting out information, if you're gonna do it, and then also using the episode to, as marketing as well, taking clips, putting it out there, especially if it's an external podcast, putting, creating shorts from, good hot takes that are in your particular podcast and in your niche that people can, start seeing, and you get more followers that way as well. And then, and doing it in like, 8 episodes, bi-weekly. I mean, yeah, bi-weekly. Then you have, 4 or 5 months of content. You got almost a half a year. And then I say, take a month or two, see what what worked and what didn't work out of that previous season, and then come up with, other stuff that you may have out there. But the great thing about this is that it's just evergreen. Once you put it out there, it stays out there in the ether, and people read stuff like a year later, 2 years later. And that's even happened for us. And I mean, that's why we like to put out content a lot via our social media of like what we're doing, kind of who we're working with, once we can put that information and make it public. But yeah, really thinking about the previous season, what you want to do better, how you want to tighten it up, if you want to go longer, if you want to go shorter, giving yourself that breathing room. Because it can really burn you out to do it weekly, definitely, so. And then gear, as I mentioned earlier, for a few of even our Webby nominated series with Holding Court with Ebony K. Williams, we did the production for her first season. When she couldn't make it to the studio, her and her business, her host, they used our one-of-one gear kits, which we do 1 and 2 person kits. But if you do, get up to the 4 range and 8 range, still reach out to us, and we can get you, really good pricing on that sort of thing, and get you everything that you need to get started. So, you can reach out to us at oneofoneproductions.com, which I have the contact information at the end. And here's a checklist, a tech checklist that I even go by of like, what am I doing for each podcast? How many people? How many microphones? Like, do I have everything? Let me check. Here's the check off list. So if you'd like to make a screenshot of this or something, that that's totally good thing to check out, or I can send it to you as well if you reach out to me. But yeah, how many people are recording, the microphones, mic stands, cables, audio interface, or are you using a recorder? Audio interfaces need a laptop. But if you're using a recorder, it's a much quicker way. If you're very mobile, you may want to use a recorder. And try and record in a quiet space with non-reflective surfaces, like with lots of curtains and carpets. That makes it sound much better. And then making sure, if you are doing video podcasts, making sure that your formatting is lined up with your audio. If you're recording to a separate device, which you should be, to a recorder or to an audio interface to your laptop, so that you can really have great audio, because that's what's going to go to the podcast platforms once you start posting. And that is it. Yeah. So that's how to get in touch with us. We're on all the social media platforms. And yeah, let me know if you have any questions. I'm gonna stop sharing.
So, well, Fela, I'd like to thank you, and Fela can be reached at One of One Productions, and
Yes.
you are on LinkedIn quite a lot. So,
Yes.
Fela Davis, and
Yes.
thank you so much for being here. I'm going to open up the floor to questions, and I'm going to stop the recording. Is that
Yeah.
okay?
Oh yeah, please do.
All right, great. Thank you so much.
Yeah.